And my effort is to empower influencers, creators. And yes, the majority of us are women in this space. So I feel even better about that, empowering other women to monetize their creativity. We have wonderful people creating amazing content that resonates with a large audience. Well, we need to get paid, and we need to get paid fairly.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. I'm Meggie Honeycutt.
And I'm Christina Mascari.
And we're back with another remote interview.
I'm really excited about this one.
Yes, we're starting to get into a flow with our remote interviews.
Yeah.
And we are so excited to welcome another guest who is going to give us so much good information about affiliate sales and affiliate marketing. So you definitely want to stick around till the end on this one. We're so excited today to welcome Stefana Silber.
Hi, Christina and Meggie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and talk about my favorite thing, which is my industry, our industry, the influencer industry, and most importantly, how I monetize it and trying to give your audience some tips.
Yeah. I met Stefana this summer at Haven and she just blew my mind, you guys. She is so smart, so business savvy. So you're going to get a lot of practical, tactical stuff in this interview. And I just want to give you a little bio about her in case you don't know Stefana or don't follow her. But you can find Stefana on Instagram at Stefana Silber. And she started off in the fashion niche, but started getting traction on her account when she turned to home decor. So there is money in home decor, you guys, don't give up. Sharing her newly remodeled kitchen and DIYs she was doing around the house got the initial attention and steady growth for her, but it was slow. It was thanks to Reels and some big partner shares, enter Amazon, which I can't wait to hear about, that she saw her account grow by tens of thousands in the beginning of 2021. By then, she had already figured out that the secret sauce of monetizing her online presence through affiliates. Stefana is passionate about sharing the knowledge that she has, and I can attest to that. I've already learned so much from her. And she, through the years with other influencers, she's empowered, especially women, to run their accounts successfully, to grow their business, and to make money, you guys, because at the end of the day, we need to make money. She also runs an online community called Influencer Confidential, where she shares all her secrets and mentors other creators in this space. So welcome, Stefana. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You don't know, you might get more than you bargained for because I cannot stop talking when you get me on these subjects. I'll happily talk for hours.
That is perfect. So I took your course at Haven last year and it just blew my mind because there's so many of us out here that are so focused on creating content and being creative and making that content, but we're just kind of being used by Instagram and YouTube. Like they're getting all these views and bringing all these people in, and we're just relying on these brand partnerships. And I think you have created a more sustainable model where you are constantly pointing people to your affiliate links and you're making a real income off of that. It's not just your like side hustle. Oh, this is my little extra on the side. So if you could just dive in, we're just ready to learn.
Yes, I'll do it. I just want to say, I don't want to take credit for coming up with the model or creating the model. Really, it's been done before me. Many people do it much better than I do. I will take credit for being the one to kind of shout it out. I talk about pulling back the curtain on the influencer industry and specifically on affiliates, how we earn from affiliates. Because yes, there's I wouldn't say misconception, but there's that stereotype that influencers earn from brand collaborations. Unless you're in the YouTube platform, as you've shared before, where you can earn directly from your views. Instagram pays us literally pennies for views on our reels. They're trying to put ads in that content there, but is nothing compared to AdSense on YouTube, right? So what do we have left? We have brand partnerships. We have this big reach. You have all these creators, influencers out there with massive audience sizes and massive reach in the millions. How can we monetize it? We work with brands. But working with brands is not all that it's made out to be. It definitely has its positives. It can be very lucrative, but it can also be very stressful. So what I turned towards, and it was kind of my realization from the very beginning in wanting to create a business Instagram account and wanting to create content, it was to earn from affiliates, because to me, that's easier. I'm a lazy person at heart. So I do look for, and don't get me wrong, I don't mean lazy as in I'm not going to do the work, because I'm going to talk to you a lot
because
about
I
doing
know
a
you are
lot
not
of work.
lazy. I see how much you
Yeah.
work and how much you do. You are definitely not lazy.
Yeah. Well, to an extent, but if I'm like electricity, the path of least resistance, right? So
Okay.
I love to do things where it's not a struggle, it's not a chore. And for many of us, we come into this space, moving from a full-time career or, a 9 to 5 corporate, whatever it may be, with the stressors that come with that job and working for someone else. To me, relying on income primarily from brand partnerships almost puts you back in that same stressful situation where someone else is telling you what to do. Yes, you have creative freedom, but many times that creative freedom can be very restricted. So for me, the answer was, I'm not gonna, not that I was in a career, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I completely recognize my privilege in being able to, grow on Instagram while having the support of my husband. But for those of us who do leave a career, there is an alternative to brand partnerships that gives you the freedom, the creative expression, less stress, more authenticity, if I can add, where your audience is trusting you because you're really choosing the products that you're promoting because you like them, not because a brand is paying you. Right. So the monetization kind of comes secondary to being authentic with your audience to begin with. But what I'm here to say to everyone, and what made heads turn at Haven, is that it can be very, very lucrative, more than you might imagine, more than what most people think. Most people in the public, and influencers themselves. So there are many as you are, Christina, in the space for many years, and there were many at Haven and many others that I've spoken to, that just had no idea. The misconception is that affiliates, you get pennies on the dollar. What could it be? What could it bring you but a couple of dollars there on the side? And what I shared at Haven is that at the time, and that was last year, my previous year's income from my affiliates, probably 80 to 90% from affiliates, was close to $500,000. And that's the kind of information that really blows people away. But it was the previous year when I had made over 100,000 that made me really realize the potential and made me want to shout it out from the rooftops to other people.
Yeah, that is absolutely incredible. And I was there at Haven when you were on the panel talking about your earnings, and it really blew me away, the income potential of affiliates, because like you said, I had always had that mindset that it was just pennies on the dollar, a little extra here and there. So this just got me so excited after Haven that there is such real potential in affiliate sales. And so what I want you to do is kind of take us back to the beginning of you getting started in content creation. You're just getting started working towards some affiliate sales. What was that process like in the beginning as you're figuring out what works?
So I was, like many other people in the space, and currently also the members of my online community, that are kind of wondering, what should I do? There's brand partnerships. All I want is like some free things for the brands to send me so I can create content. Do I do affiliates? But which one do I do, and how do I do it? So I was getting a little bit of a trickle here and there. My account was smaller, so I was getting some brand partnerships, but they were mostly for gifted product. So no real money was happening on that end. Now, let me also preface it by saying that in the very beginning, my first 2 years being a fashion wannabe influencer, I didn't do anything. I failed miserably as a fashion influencer. It was a very hard time on Instagram. It was kind of like the initial period where unless you were one of the first comers on Instagram and you had already created a big audience, it was very hard to grow. I feel like we're back in that space now, post Reels. But so this was pre-Reels in end of 2016, 2017, 2018, where I just could not get any traction with my fashion content, even though I was very consistent with what I was putting out there. It was just hard. And the fashion niche was harder at the time. Now, it's when I switched to home decor that my account started to grow. That niche was easier to grow and it wasn't as saturated. The community overall was more welcoming and helpful. So a lot of growth was happening initially with us kind of exchanging, sharing our accounts, doing little games, hashtag games, share games. So I was getting very slow but steady growth there. And yes, I was starting to get some partnerships because my account was growing, but it was for product only, no real money. Until 2020 hit, and there I had kind of a change. My account in home decor was also geared in the beginning towards DIY, and that's how I was getting my growth. I attempted to also be a designer for people, remote design. I did not like that, so I kind of dropped it. And it was the time where I was going to try something and kind of commit to it. So I decided to give affiliates a more concerted effort at that time. And I did in March of 2020. And I set a goal for myself and I made a plan, an action plan for what I was going to do for the next month. And I made a commitment that I would post twice as much as I had posted the previous month to LTK. If your audience is familiar with LTK, it's one of the affiliate platforms out there, one of the biggest ones. And lo and behold, the next month, I doubled my postings from 15 to that app to 30. And the next month, my income doubled from $300 to $600. So that's how much I was making. I was making $300 a month doing not much of anything. But when I actually put in an effort and put a strategy in place, it doubled. So that's all the information I needed to keep going.
Okay.
And then I kept posting more and more, and it just kept growing from there. So in the beginning, there was zero for many years, zero income. It was a hobby. Like I said, I was lucky that my husband was supporting our family with his job, his career. I was a stay-at-home mom, kind of looking for expression. And but I also knew that this was a way to make money. It wasn't just a hobby posting pictures online. But it was nothing for 2 years until 2020 when I saw kind of the path to how I could increase this income. And so the first year in 2020, I made probably, I think it was $14,000. And at the time I was looking at what was actually my bank account, my tax statement, right? So that was the number I'll never forget because my husband came to me at the end of the year and he said, you have to pay tax on this money. I said, but I already spent it. I don't have anything to give you. So it was at that point, it was kind of feeding my projects and whatever the stuff I wanted to buy for around the house. Now in 2021, I said, okay, I'm going to put 30% aside going forward. So that year is when my income went to, so from 14,000 to 120,000. This is just tremendous, incredible growth. And I want to stop here for a moment and say, when it comes to sharing income, I know it can be a touchy subject. It can be taboo. Before Haven, when I had to get on that stage, I kept asking, I asked my husband, I asked Christine, my assistant, do I share my numbers? I always felt uneasy because we know kind of what goes along with that. Christina, you were probably up against those same thoughts, right?
Yeah.
There could be negativity or whatever the case, but ultimately I knew there's so much value in sharing that number with people just to give them the awareness of what the potential is, that it's not just some cents on the dollar. Yes and no, it is cents on the dollar, but every cent adds up. But what I've learned since then, and this past year at the end of 2023, there was kind of this trend going around of income sharing. I saw it on Reels and I saw it on Threads. The other realization I've had is, I think 100,000, that's a big number, right? That's six figures, makes people stop and listen. And people love to share. The ones that I saw, all the income sharing I saw was around that six figure number. I think that's inspiring. That's how I take it. I've also learned that there's so much more beyond that. And when you get past a certain point, we're talking, 500,000, 1 million, in the millions, people start to be more quiet about it. But I have friends and we talk, and I know what the numbers are out in the industry, and I can tell you. So for those of you watching me, you're either being inspired right now and you're like, yes, I'm going to do this too. Or you're kind of snickering at yourself and saying, that's nothing. She made 500,000. Big whoop. Because there are people out there that are making 2-3 million and more from affiliates.
That is mind blowing.
It is
in the home space. In the home space.
Yes, in the home space. And others.
It encourages me. It encourages me.
It does. And I'm curious, just for clarification, the year that you made that jump from 14,000 to 100,000, where was your follower count at that point?
I love that question. And that's a very important point to make, right? And I do make it with people who come to me. I never tell people to the members of my group or people interested in signing on to my membership group. I never promise people that tomorrow you're going to make $100,000, right? Or you do these 5 steps and you're going to make 6 figures. Or, you've probably seen another trend that I was kind of late to the realization of, this get rich quick scheme. And unfortunately, it carries the word affiliates with it. And on the surface, it's kind of the same thing, but there are these coaches and these courses out there promising people, stay-at-home moms, that they would just do this simple process of 5 steps or whatever, and then make 2 million in 6 months. No, we are not the same. We're not the get rich quick scheme. And it does take a lot of work and effort and strategy and analysis. But yes, your audience size matters. What I promise people is that if you start using some of these strategies that I'll teach you, or just gain an awareness of our landscape of what's going on Instagram and with the platform that you want to commit to, and with affiliates and the different programs and how you can take advantage of all of them, you will improve dramatically on what you're doing currently, not doing any of these strategies. So to answer your question, when I was making that $300 mark and then I doubled it the next month and I kept going, that was in 2020. And my following at the time was, I believe, around 24, maybe a little under 30. By the end of 2020, I was at 38,000, and I will never forget that because I also turned 40 at the end of 2020. And I just so wanted to have the big Mylar balloons that said 40 for my birthday and 40,000 for my Instagram following. And it didn't happen. I had 38 in December of 2020 for my 40th birthday. But it did happen shortly after. So, however, in that first year, I want to remind people something. I throw numbers out there, but there's a number which is your earned income, and then there's the number that's on your tax statement, right? And those can be very different, especially in the beginning when you're progressing rapidly, because of the payment delay. So these programs, you earn the money this month, but they don't pay out till sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60, 90. And during COVID, that delay went to 6 months, because think about all the retailers increase their return windows, which means your earnings don't pay out till sometimes 6 months after you've earned. So my 14,000 from 2020 was what was on my tax statement, what got paid out. But in that year, I was actually earning the money that we're contributing towards 2021. So I was earning money with under 40,000 followers in 2020, and then it continued to happen in 2021. I had rapid growth in 2021. Yes, thanks to Reels. And the two go hand in hand. You want to have the most amount of eyeballs, the most amount of reach on your content so you can monetize that reach. But again, you can always improve on what you're already doing by following some strategies that I can teach you.
What were some of your strategies to grow that audience? Because you realize, hey, if I have a bigger audience, obviously there's more people there. There's more eyeballs seeing my content, which is going to equal more affiliate sales. So what strategies did you put in place to try to help grow that audience?
Yes, absolutely. What we need is volume, and that's where, that get rich quick scheme kind of fails on its face, is because you get the concept. Yes, you share products and you make affiliate commissions, but in order to take that from pennies to actual dollars and multitudes of them, you need an audience. So yes, your account size does matter to your bottom line. You can always make an improvement, but the goal is to grow the audience. The good news is that Reels made that possible for me. They have made it possible for countless other people on Instagram. They took us from that stagnant phase in before 2020, where no one was growing, to the possibility of having a viral piece of content that will skyrocket your account. So there's the account growth. I'm not advocating really chasing a viral reel for many different reasons, but the simplest one being is that we can't do it. We can't guarantee it. We can't replicate that. We can only hope. The one way we can do it is by putting consistent volume of content out. It's kind of like playing the lottery. The more you play, the chances go higher. The other advantage is that you get better at what you do. So the one short answer is put more content out. That's what will grow your account before and now and in the future. And Instagram, they themselves say that they want consistency. You have to feed the beast. I call it the beast, and you have to feed it with consistency. And you increase your chance of virility, but you also get better at the craft. And you may not have a single reel that went over 1 million, but if you had 10 reels that reached 100,000, that's the same number, right? So that has been my strategy, being consistent. I had said to myself in the beginning of 2021, I believe it was, when I realized the potential of Reels and that my account was growing only from Reels. And sometimes surprising Reels, the type of content you don't think will do well. And I'm sure you've heard it before. But what that means is that you can't overthink it. Post it is better than perfect. So post it, and you never know what might come out of it. And ultimately, it will be slow, steady growth from the distribution and the reach that you get from these smaller reach reels. It will grow your account in a slow and more consistent basis. The other good news is that, and that happened mostly, I feel like last year, was the realization that you don't necessarily want followers. Yes, followers are great. A big account is great. But what we found out is that you could have multiple pieces of content reach a large audience way above and beyond your follower size. You could have a following of 200,000, and you can have consistently reels reach audience of 300, 400, 500,000. Then you can go viral and have 1 million, 2 million. We found out that they don't end up following the way they used to back in 2021 and 2022. It seems like people are consuming the content, but they're not necessarily giving you a follow. That's okay, because if you put content out there that actually asks them to click on the link and it recommends a product to them, it doesn't matter that they didn't follow you. You can still make a sale. So that's good news.
Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted to talk to you about next, because it's one thing to have a lot of views on your content, but the goal with affiliate marketing is you need that engagement piece. You need them to click through, you need them to ask for the link. And so tell us a little bit more about this strategy behind getting them to take action and engage with your links.
Yeah. What it used to be back in the day. When I say back in the day, because I feel like such a
whole year ago, a whole 2 years ago.
Oh yes, well but even before that, eons ago, it used to be that you grow your account with main feed content. You put the beautiful aesthetic content on your main feed, and then you sell in stories. So in stories is where you put all the links and all the products. And yes, in the past year, maybe 2 years, we realized that we no longer need to preserve main feed content for the most beautiful, most aesthetic, aspirational. But you can actually share what we used to only share in stories on main feed and get the engagement on main feed. What is the type of content? It has to be a product-based content, right? So if I share my DIY, or Christina, you share a table that you were finished, likely that's not going to lead to any sales. You can lead them to your blog, you can lead them to your YouTube, so they can watch and make money that way, so I can get ad revenue from my blog. But that it involves a lot of steps, a lot of actions, and you end up losing a lot of people in the process. But you can you can create a piece of content that focuses on that product. And yes, the more creative and engaging you are, the better that piece of content will do, and the more it will compel people to click or to request the link. And here's where I think the secret sauce of being a good creator comes in. You can take advantage of viral audio and trending reels and templates, or just share your personality, or really grab people with something that you truly love, that you would see your neighbor down the street and say, oh my God, Meggie, I got this pair of drapes that is just like the designer ones, but they're so much cheaper. And I got them on Amazon, of course. I mean, where else? So it's this kind of language. If that's how you speak to your friend, and your friend's like, oh, really? I have to see them. What colors do they have? So that's the kind of personal passion that will get your neighbor to buy something that you recommend, but it will also get 100,000 strangers to buy it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I had it in my notes just from consuming your content myself. You never seem super salesy to me. Is that purposeful? Is that practiced? Is it just the passion that you're talking about? I guess because that is so many people's objection to starting to get into the affiliate marketing game. I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to feel salesy. Tell us about how you moved through that and, appears so natural and just organic in the way that you present products.
Well, first, thank you so much for saying that. Salesy is a relative term, I think, and people have a different tolerance level or different definitions for what they consider salesy. I'm my worst critic. So if something comes across cringy or salesy to me, I won't do it. I won't put it out. And maybe it holds me back in some ways. Me being my worst critic, I think, makes me produce good content. The way it holds me back is that I don't put out content that I could probably benefit from, I could profit from, but if in my gut it makes me cringe and I don't like it, it's not going to happen. There are so many accounts that are based entirely on selling Amazon products. And that's perfectly fine. And they make a lot of money. Many of them probably make a lot more than I do. But you have to go into it knowing that that's the kind of account you will be. And if that's something that you enjoy or you can sustain long term, more power to you. That's great. There's an audience for it. I say there's an audience for any content. And also, not every account is for everyone. And that's perfectly fine. I make the choice to be the kind of account that kind of straddles the line. I do promote product and sell Amazon products and create content that is geared towards that. I also like aesthetic content. I like aspirational content of my house and decor. And I also like DIY. So I have all these three things kind of going, and I do a little bit of all to put me in a place that's comfortable to me, where I'm not too salesy to myself. If you ask another account that doesn't promote products at all, I'm probably very salesy to them and I share too many links.
That's a good
But then
point.
if you compare me to the other, yes, to the other side that does nothing but links, I am not. So I will take that and say thank you. I'm glad that you like it. But there's an audience for every account. So I wouldn't let that fear. There's so many things that hold us back, or I don't know, their conscious biases. I can't remember what the word
Yeah.
was, but that they're not necessarily. There's the spotlight effect, or where you think everyone is looking at you and, oh my God, I feel embarrassed, or I'm going to flop and no one's liking my content, when that's not really the case. There's the idea of repetition. It's not, oh, I just share that, or someone else is sharing it, I can't do it. So these are all, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that you do very well, because I'll just be honest with you and let you know you've influenced a lot of my home purchases lately. And one of them was my rug that I have, and you shared it over and over and over again. And I didn't get sick of it. I was like, every time you shared it, I'm like, I might get this one. I think this might be the one. And it took me seeing it on your feed 5 times before I bought it. And that's a practice out in marketing. That's what
Yeah.
advertisers do. They have to have 3 to 5 touch points before you're going to make that purchase. And I think as creators, we sometimes get stuck in our head of like, oh, so-and-so shared that yesterday, or I shared that before. And we think everybody saw it. But even if everybody did see it, them seeing it over and over again and me talking about like how much I love it and it's still being in my home, that's what's actually going to influence the purchase. So I think that you do that very well, that repeating the things that I know, like your cabinets, your Amazon cabinets. I've like had my eye on those. I'm like, oh, those are pretty. And you share them over and over again, but you share them in different ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. Repetition is actually a cornerstone. People shouldn't be afraid to repeat. They have to lean into it. And yes, it's that spotlight effect again. We think, we're the center of the universe, and whatever our little bubble we're in, we don't realize it's a bubble when it's just a little speck in the grand universe of people sharing all sorts of things in a huge audience of, potential billions of people that are on this app every day. So yeah, you think, the universe is the 20 people that you follow, and you follow each other, and you all share the same product. When in fact it's way beyond that. Every time you share something, someone has seen it that hasn't seen it before. Or there's a Christina out there that needs 5 times convincing that this rug is awesome. Absolutely. And yes, it's like a child eating broccoli. You can't give them broccoli one time and expect them to like it. I think 10 times is actually how many times it takes for the palate to accept it. So whether it's 5 times, 10 times, continuously seeing it in my house over and over again, seeing that I bought it 2 times, 3 times. These are kind of affirmations that the audience needs, reminders to eventually make that sale.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, because in my mind, I was thinking, how are you constantly coming up with so many new products to share, compared to the volume of content you put out? So I think that is a very wise and interesting strategy to repeat, how you're
Yep.
sharing products. So I love that.
Well, and it honestly creates community, which people would be like, no way, she's just selling stuff. How is she creating community? But now when I see you post your rug, I will message you and be like, I love this rug. Like, thanks for recommending it. So do you get a lot of those? Like, I know one you show all the time is your little green machine. Do people, every time you post that, comment, oh, I got mine 2 months ago and I love it. Thanks for recommending it. Do you get messages like that?
Absolutely. Yes. And I actually pride myself on being in my DMs all the time. And yes, I do have help, but we do, between the two of us, it's my husband and I, we get to every question, and we answer questions, and we encourage people, and we're cheerleaders for people. Now, I don't do individual designs, but yes, it goes back to your neighbor who finally got the little green machine, and she's so grateful that she was able to lift that stain off her couch now. Or that you told her, hey, that little green machine that you wanted, it's on sale. People love sales. And yes, I'm like their best friend who's shopping for them and testing the things for them. And they show me pictures of their house, their drapes, their cabinets. People like to also be acknowledged, to be heard, and that someone is there listening to them and agreeing with them and relating to them as they relate to you.
So I have a tactical question for you. How are you keeping track of some of those things that you know you share over and over again? And how do you know that they're on sale? Like, do you have an assistant that's going on there looking at your list of your top 50 things and seeing if they're on sale that day? What kind of support do you have there? And do you have any tips for us on how we can keep track of things like that and be making sure that our content is fresh and we know when things are on sale and things that are coming down the pipe?
Yeah, definitely. I do have help. That's actually a big tenet of my teachings is that there comes a point, you want your account to grow, you want to have a large audience, but at a certain point you will plateau because you can not handle any more work in a day. There are only 24 hours in a day as much as we stretch it and overload ourselves. If you want to continue to scale to those big numbers, you have to have help. And I'm lucky that my husband is actually my assistant. I think that's an even bigger advantage there because we're in the same house all day long. I think we share a brain, as bad and codependent as that sounds. But when it comes to these lists, that running list of your bestsellers or what's on sale, if you do have an external assistant, I do highly recommend having a system there where you write out the top sellers, or my recommendation would be to kind of go month by month basis and see what seasonally sells well. And then you have like some standout dates like Prime Day and Black Friday and the entire holiday season where you'll have repetition there of the products. But having a list and looking at your own analytics, that's something very basic to many of us, but to many people, it's a confusing and difficult thing. So looking at your own analytics and your data and seeing what did best, what did people click on the most, and what sold the best, having those. And if you need to put them in a spreadsheet, that's fine. We tend to have a running list in our heads, as weird as it is, but we don't have a formal list. But it's in my husband's head, and my head. We kind of, and again, we parse that information within a time frame. So we'll think about the month of January and we'll look at what happened last January and think about the products we shared. How did they do last January, and can we reshare them? Many times when it comes to repurposing content, I will take a verbatim reel, grab it as it was downloaded, and then reshare it. Other times I'll take my raw footage and remix it, add new music to it or new voiceover, and share the same product basically. Because the products are a limited set, especially those bestsellers, the drapes, the rugs, the cabinets. And yes, there's a list there. I do recommend constantly looking at analytics and having a spreadsheet. But the new product, then this kind of the fun aspect, besides resharing and repetition, you want to have some new fresh stuff and be the account that gives people the new stuff. So we also keep an eye out for that to see what new products are out there, or what design wise we can take from an aspirational photo and maybe find an alternative on Amazon that people will like because they can get it for cheap.
Nice. That's awesome. One amazing tool that you taught me this summer was about DM automation. I had no idea about that until I heard you speak at Haven, and I have implemented it. And just on something, just an example of a reel that I posted a couple of weeks ago, it only got 70,000 views. So it didn't get showed to a lot of people, but 1,000 people requested that link. And that's like as many people as requested a link as a reel that had 350,000 views. So I would love for you to talk about actually taking reels and being able to convert by doing this automated DM thing, because I think a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're in our bubble. Everybody's doing that, but not really. There are plenty of people. And I hope there are people who will listen or watch us today and they'll learn something new and take it and implement it and see immediate results. So what we're talking about is called DM automation. And there are many different services out there that provide that for you. Yes, unfortunately, you do have to use a third-party service to do it. It doesn't happen within Instagram by default or organically. But what it does is you ask your audience to comment a specific word, and that after you've already set up an automation in that service, when they comment that, it triggers a DM or a personal message that's sent to them with that link that they asked for. It's been a game changer because, as we know, we can't link on main feed. We cannot add an active link in captions or in comments. Unlike Facebook and YouTube, I'm not sure, but I think in captions you can definitely. I'm not sure about comments, but in Instagram, you can't do that on main feed. So we're getting all these eyeballs on our content, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, and let's not diminish tens of thousands. Stadium is 20,000, right? A small
That's
venue.
a really good point.
People say, "Oh, my reel flopped, only 10,000, only 20,000 views." I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to have a better conversion from that audience that views your content compared to sending them to the link in bio. So in the past, the only way to link on main feed was in your bio. So they'd have to consume your content and then you say, go to the link in bio. So there's a process there, right? Many people just want to kind of watch reels or scroll and don't want to have to tap on your account, tap on the link in bio, then tap on that actual product link. So that's 3 taps right there. With every step, you lose audience, you lose a number. There's a conversion process at each step. So being able to eliminate some of these steps with this DM automation has been tremendous for all of us. And you can attest to it yourself and anyone who has tried it, as long as the expense is warranted. There are lots of tools out there, lots of technology that's available to you, but your business has to be at a point where you can afford that expense. And then it pays for itself. So that's been great. And having said that, because I spent all of 2023, was it? Or end of 2022 and 2023 telling people about DM automation. We were super excited about it. It produced great results. But what we kind of lost sight of is how powerful link in bio can be and still is. We turned our attention to DM automation. We kind of forgot about link in bio, even though it's another one of my basic tenets in the beginning for growth with affiliates is to put in a very narrow focus link in bio. My recommendation is 1. So if you want to focus on LTK affiliates, or now that I've kind of moved away from LTK towards more profitable affiliates, the one that you want to grow in, put that 1 link. Just experiment it for 1 month. Indulge
That's really
me.
good advice.
And you might be surprised. So I did that and I track. I'm very big on data and tracking so I can analyze with precision and make decisions. But link in bio is still very powerful, maybe as much as the DM automation, if not more. And you can do your own tracking on that and kind of take note of how many clicks you're getting and sales. The different programs have different abilities for tracking. But when I switched my link in bio to just Amazon in Q4, I believe it was responsible for probably half of my main feed sales. So DM automation was bringing a lot, but link in bio was still bringing as much and maybe fell second, but not by much. So people are still going to the link in bio. Plenty of them. We trained our audience well enough to request links. But many of them, there are a lot of very shy consumers of the app. They don't want to engage in any way. They're consuming, but they will not comment. They will not like for whatever reason. And that's their choice. They don't even want to comment for a link, but they will go and click on your link in bio. So use that very strategically to your advantage.
Okay. And can I ask you, if you're telling me that, you've changed that link in bio just to be your Amazon storefront, is your Amazon storefront very organized? Are you placing those reels up there and tagging the products in the reel that you're sharing? Or is it more like a curated, like, here's all the things that I love in home. Here's the drapes that I love. Here's all the home appliances that I like. How is your storefront organized?
It's not organized a ton, nor is it very aesthetic.
Okay.
Because we have DM automation and I can link to it and I can link in stories, I don't emphasize the organization or the aesthetics of it a whole lot. We kind of use it as we need to. We do organize idea lists. So because we share idea lists and there's a certain organization that will bring the intended item to the top of the list. And I hope I'm not wrong here, but I think once you've edited an idea list, that puts it at the top of the storefront. So it
It
probably
does.
happens. So the organization on my part is unintended. It just happens. But if we share a new product, a new line of products or new suggestions, we've just edited them. So they kind of go up to the top. They'll get shared. So they'll get viewed in that time period. As we share more stuff, some of that old stuff will go down below, but it also is losing traction on Instagram kind of, simultaneously. So it works naturally and organically. We don't tend to post a ton to Amazon just for the sake of Amazon. There are opportunities there. You can get your content featured in different Amazon placements, but I personally don't rely on that. It's not something that I can control and strategize over. It's kind of like a lottery. So I will not put effort and time on chasing that. I would use my Amazon storefront as it will function for me. So we upload as needed for the social shares, not too much outside of that.
Okay, and we've had a couple of big bombs drop recently, and I've already heard you mention this, so I'm going to steer you in this direction because I know you are a big LTK person. I know you were even invited to the LTK influencer event, which everybody's like, "Ooh, how did you get there?" And I know you've been at the Amazon influencer event, so we won't talk about that because I don't even think that stuff matters. I think it's awesome if you get to go to those things and you glean, and you're a sharer, so you always share the information you earn there. But Walmart has been doing their program in beta, their own program, just like Amazon. And now it's kind of open pretty much to everybody. I feel like they just switched us over to a different platform. And then the big one is Target launched theirs. And so I'm in both of those. I know you're in both of those. I saw a shift in your content when Target opened theirs. So how has your strategy changed that those two huge, big juggernauts that probably were a lot of things you were linking to on LTK? How has your strategy changed there? And what do you see in the future there in the space?
I'm so excited. It was the best Christmas gift, I think, I could have asked for when Target announced their creator program. I go to the highest bidder. And I think we should all have that. We're here with a purpose. We're here to make money. We're not here because we're friends with certain affiliate programs. They are certainly running businesses. They are doing their own analysis and act accordingly, and we should be doing the same. So yes, 2 years ago, when I first launched the course at the time, it was very much LTK focused because I was doing very much LTK and Amazon hand in hand, but LTK was a big deal. Amazon hadn't quite gained traction in the public consciousness. And it happened probably at the same time as I was launching the course. Amazon was really what people were asking me about. And that led to a rebranding on my part. So I moved away from LTK being the focus of what I was teaching people because Amazon came into more clear focus and these other alternatives came into more clear focus. I was an LTK girly, especially as a DIY / home decor account, because LTK has been known to be a fashion and beauty network with a large roster of brands, mostly in that niche, but also home decor. They brought on home decor later on, and there was a lot to be made there. We made a lot of money. It was working well until there's a better alternative. So yes, Amazon took a chunk of that, what used to be linked through LTK for Amazon. And then when Walmart and Target came along, and really what we're talking about here is these big brands, they're the top retailers in the US, Amazon, Walmart, Target. They're
Yep.
the big top three. They cover all sorts of different departments, not just home decor, not just fashion, not just beauty, all of it electronics, right? There's somewhat of a competition with one another because they do carry the same products in certain aspects. Walmart has Better Homes and Gardens, great. Target has their own fashion lines and Studio Meggie, amazing. Amazon has some unique things there too, but mostly an overlap. But Amazon is a leader in conversion. So we consider all of those things, but what we're left with is choice. And choice gives us power. We run our businesses and we have to know, we need to run our analytics and look at our bottom line and see who is paying us the most. And that's what goes in my link in bio. So whoever's paying me the most. No, I strategize there. So during certain time periods, I'll put just one retailer there. Sometimes I'll put three. But yeah, so there is strategy behind it, and it changes, it shifts throughout the year. And the same goes even throughout the month. So these different retailers that have very advantageous programs, very profitable programs for us, higher commission than using a network, right? A network is an intermediary, whether it's LTK or Shop My or Collective Voice or Howl or whatever it is. They are an aggregator of the brands, and they act as an intermediary between the brand and the influencer. But working directly with the brand, with the top three, means you will have higher commission rates, bonus opportunities, and collaboration opportunities directly with these brands. And if Amazon has taught us anything, for those of us who were there early or those who joined later on and have seen how amazing it is, Walmart and Target are following in Amazon's footsteps. It's great news for us. I'm super excited.
Well, it's great news too, because yes, they do have to compete with commissions, which is all, we can't talk about what the commissions specifically are because it's different for every person that joins the program, and you're under contract with them. So please don't discuss your rates in the public, because you're breaking the operating agreement.
Yes.
And you do not want to get kicked out of one of these top three, because that would be devastating to your business. So make sure you're reading those operating agreements. Make sure that you're sticking to them. But you just put up a great point, because I'm in a position where I'm in all three too, and I am just feeling overwhelmed. But I love your information here. It's like, yeah, I should be focusing on the one that is paying me the most and the products that I use from that retailer, because it's accessible to a lot of people. In the terms of Target and Walmart and Amazon, there are affordable options for the regular person. We're not talking about our house. We're not talking about restoration hardware. We're talking about beauty in your home that is attainable. And that's what I love about, and accessible to people.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out that strategy there. I had really focused in on Amazon on Q4 and I killed it, but I just had some changes in my agreement with them. And so now I'm looking at some of these other programs and I'm like, I could make more money over here if I shift my focus. So I think that's kind of what I'm going to do. And you have to be flexible in this business, I think, which is something you're saying, like, just because something worked for me 6 months ago, look how much has changed. And I think that's what's really beneficial. And I'm going to just plug your Influencer Confidential. I know you told me you're not here to plug it, but I'm going to plug it for you, because you're, instead of offering a course that you take one time and you're saying, here's how you do ABCD, you're offering a mentorship, because obviously these things change on a dime. And I know that you do this out of passion, because there's so many people that could be doing what you're doing, but you obviously care about people and you want people to have the right information. And you're so smart, and you offer the information so succinctly and make it really easy to understand. So if anybody is just looking for someone to walk through this process with them that knows what they're doing, a mentorship and paying that monthly fee is honestly worth it, instead of spending like a big chunk of money on a course that is probably going to be dated in like 3 to 6 months.
Yes,
for sure. And that was the realization I had with my initial courses. Things were becoming outdated. I needed to update it, and people wanted more information. They wanted the daily updates, and we're getting to the point of daily updates. Things change, and now we're juggling these different platforms, and and there's technological difficulties. We have deep links, and one platform's deep links failed, and now does this work? Does the other work? And my effort is to empower influencers, creators. And yes, the majority of us are women in this space. So I feel even better about that, empowering other women to monetize their creativity. We have wonderful people creating amazing content that resonates with a large audience. Well, we need to get paid, and we need to get paid fairly. So part of that is we have, that's the topic of a whole nother hour, discussing brands.
And I feel like have a part 2.
Yes,
with you.
There are better people to even talk about that. But yes, getting paid fairly from brands, but also knowing how to pay ourselves by strategically picking. And it could change within the month, right? Not just month to month, but week to week. As you reach one goal with one retailer, you will back off. I will back off and start pushing another retailer where I can reach another goal. Or, I mean, and these are things that I've talked to one retailer and I said, you need to raise your goal because right now it's disincentivizing me. Once I reach your highest, your cap, I will get my foot off of that pedal and push somewhere else. So that's when I'll change my link in bio too. So yes, all of these things, knowing that because I want to know these things for my business to give myself the biggest advantage. And then I'll share them with my members. So we have chats going on every day. If something new happens, if there's a bug, a glitch that they need to be aware of, this is the kind of daily communication that necessitated a switch from a one-time course to a monthly membership. And yeah, our whole field is so fluid. The landscape is changing rapidly as we're sitting here. By the time this goes live, maybe there'll be changes, who knows? But I'm super excited about the future.
Yeah. And what I love about you is that you just kind of lead the way. I'm like, okay, this is how it is. And let's move forward. I don't ever see you complain about, I can't believe that they changed this and they changed that. And it's just like, it's such a waste of time. And so I love that you're a leader in this space because you're leading us all well to be like, guess what? You're not owed anything. So let's just like, if this is bad over here, let's shift our focus or figure out what we do next and what we like. So I love that about you.
Yeah.
And it's out of our control. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's such a good perspective to have. And as I'm sitting here, I'm just wondering practically how you do it all. How do you plan content calendars, filming schedules, all of the links? I mean, there's so many moving and working parts in your business. Plus, you have a family. Can you tell us just like practically kind of maybe 2 or 3 things that you do to keep yourself on track and, posting with the volume that you post at?
If you had asked me that maybe a year ago, I would have said I fly by the seat of my pants, kind of like how it's in my head. But there are limitations to that. There's definitely a lot of last minute kind of things. Again, our industry is not a rigid. It's also the creative spirit, right? We are attracted to this type of not structured, not rigid environment where we can be creative and be spontaneous. So I don't discount that and I don't want to remove it. But if it's a business and you're running it as a business, you also want to put in some systems and some structure to also take the stress away from yourself. So I've made an effort to be a little more organized, a little more planned, not a lot. I don't plan a whole quarter out, but I do try to plan monthly. And I'll just give you like a visual example. This is what I do use a lot of technology, but I also have this.
I love that.
And what I realized after buying calendars and planners and notebooks and also different software, trying out different software, it's okay to use multiple things. Whatever tools you can use that are at your disposal, even if it could be your phone calendar, it could be a paper calendar. Asana, I do use Asana to also communicate with my assistant who does the blog, and that's a completely separate thing. My husband and I, lucky, again, we communicate daily, but we do like to have kind of a month out rough idea. All those little sticky notes are actually last February's content that I posted. So I went through and I put them on the calendar. It gives me ideas. It lets me know what I need to repurpose. And then with a month's view out, I also like to have some things kind of percolating. Do I want to order maybe a new cabinet that I saw? How am I going to style it? I'll incorporate any collaborations that I have on that calendar or make room for them. And it's on sticky notes because it's fluid and it can move around and then it gets carried over. Actually, so the purple is what didn't get posted from January that I could potentially post in February. And the orange is what didn't get posted in December. So I have so much content. And again, I've done this so many years. There's lots in the bank for me to draw from. And combining that with the new one. But yes, a paper calendar, an electronic calendar, things in my head and working in segments, a month out comparing to last year's same month, and then week out. If I'm confident that I have 5 reels that I can kind of put together, rough draft, anywhere from rough draft to push of a button, they're sitting in my phone, and I can daily, and that's what I do on a daily basis, right? I take care of today's content, but I do have stuff in storage I can pull from. If I'm going on vacation, then I'll take the time and actually have 7 reels ready at the push of a button with the automations, with the links and everything going on. But the good news is you don't have a boss telling you what's today, what's tomorrow, what's your performance. You're your own. So if you want to take a day off for your own mental health. I don't recommend taking weeks off.
Yeah. Because you won't want to come back.
Yeah.
The beast needs feeding. You have to feed the beast.
Speaking of the beast, so you're telling me how much like content you kind of have in the bucket ready to go. Are you posting a reel a day or like 5 times a week?
I try.
Okay.
My goal is always at least once a day. If I fall short, if it was a day where something happened and I had to run out of the house for whatever reason, do something else, went out to dinner and had a friend come over and the day got away from me, I give myself a break. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. So always my goal is higher than what I end up living up to, but it still turns out to probably at least 5 a week. Most weeks it's 7, so once a day. But that's my goal. Ever since I realized that the potential of reels is unmatched, my goal is to put it out there. If it's old, if it's repetitive, if it sucks, better put it out than not put it.
I love that.
That's great advice.
I know. I feel like we are going to have you back.
I know.
So
And
I'm already going to
I'm here
be
for it.
booking you back because I could keep talking to you for another hour.
I know.
But I
still have
feel like if we do
questions.
that, people's heads are going to explode.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But if you
Yeah.
are in the spot where you can invest in a mentorship program, I highly recommend Stefana. We're going to leave all that information about Influencer Confidential down in the description box if you want to check that out. So much great information. You have helped me so much in just like a few little areas, and I have seen growth in them. So I can attest that your stuff works. You're not just out here being like, hey, do this, do my course, point to all the things, and like you will succeed. Like I am a person that can sit here and say I've implemented just a couple of things that she has taught me, and I have seen growth in those areas. And you are encouraging me here to just press in and do new things because I have the potential to be able to grow in spots that I want to grow. So I just appreciate all your information, your transparency, and sharing it with us today.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for having me. As I told you, I could go on forever.
I know.
You really have to stop
And
me.
I could sit here, but we will definitely get you back.
Yeah.
And so if you guys have any questions about anything that she talked about, please let us know down in the comments because we're going to save it for part 2. If there's anything you need clarity on, we will save all those show notes. And the next time we have her on, we will hit those up. If there's anything we didn't cover that you want to ask her, please let us know. And we're ready for our favorite things because we have a segment that we created, Stefana, because here on the Cypress Room, we are not monetized. We are on our way to trying to monetize this podcast. But we believe about the same thing as you, that the rising tide rises all the ships.
Lifts
so we're
all
out here
ships,
we're just here sharing the things that we've learned along the way to give people that little, encouragement that they need, that little boost. Like you can stand on my shoulders. You don't have to learn the 50 things that I failed at. You can stand on my failures and my successes, and let's go up from here. But so we have created our favorite things because we are an Amazon affiliate.
Yes,
we do have an Amazon storefront, and we love to share things that we are loving with our audience because we're females and we're like, hey, oh my gosh, I have this thing and I love it. And it's the only way we're earning money. So if y'all want to support us by clicking our links on our favorite things, we would appreciate it. It's no extra cost to you. Shameless plug.
Yes.
Absolutely. And a note about the no barrier to entry for affiliate links. You don't need someone to say you need this many views to monetize. There you go.
We have very small following here. And they let us in. So just try. Just keep applying until they tell you yes.
Well, Stefana, do you want to go first and share your favorite thing?
This was such a hard question to answer because I have 7 years of favorite. No, there's so many, but I just can't not talk about my drapes because That's what I'm known for. I'm the drapes lady and the Roman shades lady. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And somehow my identity and my brand found me. And also they happen to be hanging right behind me on the background for those who are watching on YouTube.
There you go.
But they are, and I mentioned earlier, I meant it as a tease, so I'll give it all now. It's the famous Amazon, now made famous by 2 Pages, but I also, my personal favorite is my branded collection. So 2 Pages has solid drapes, and they look very high end, very designer at a fraction of the cost of either custom or some of the high end designers or retailers out there. They have the pinch pleats. You can't see it here, but they have the pinch pleats, and you get so much more width and volume with the pinch pleats. For, again, I promise you a fraction. Things are relative. It's not $50, but it's not thousands of dollars, but it looks like it's thousands of dollars. And then I actually approached the brand a couple of years ago, and I said, I want to make prints because people are asking me for prints. So the example behind me is one of them, but there are many colors, very kind of neutral, subdued prints, nothing loud, but you can check it out. So it's my 2 Pages, Stefana Silber 2 Pages collection on Amazon. And it's on their own website too. So you can link either one or both in the caption.
I love it. Well, I'm going to be checking those out.
I know, me
for
too.
sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite thing is something a little less pretty and exciting than Stefana's, but I recently was gifted over Christmas a Towel Clean self-sanitizing electric toothbrush. And I love it. I love that it cleans my teeth really well, but also it has its own charging station that also UV sanitizes your brush head.
That's pretty nice.
When you are not using it. So no bathroom germs on my toothbrush head. And also I don't necessarily have to worry about throwing it out every time
you get sick.
So
I was going to ask about that. Does that mean you're saving money on all the replacement heads then?
Yes. So you can buy replacement heads to replace, I think you're supposed to replace your toothbrush head anyways every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, like 3 months.
So you can buy the replacement heads. But yes, if you get sick, if you get a cold, you're not having to throw it out every time because it says it cleans 99.9% of the germs through UV rays in its docking station. And yeah, it has 2 different speeds, one for sensitive teeth and one for whitening. It's great. I love it.
So my favorite thing that I'm going to share today in honor of Stefana being on here is my rug that I now have in my living room. And you helped me with the pronouncement of the brand again.
Loloy.
And
yes.
it's and you probably know the details better than me and know when it's going to be on sale. But I had seen her post this rug over and over again. And I had like a gray colored rug in there. And I have switched to warm tones. I'm always very neutral, but I was trying to get that gray rug out of there. It held up terrible. It's one of those bargain brands that you see a lot. So I was like looking for a rug, and my husband's like, we need to replace this because it kept like rolling up and everything. And I was like, okay, I keep seeing this one that Stefana posts, and it's just beautiful. It has like these rust color in there. Looks like it's distressed, but it's not distressed. And so I finally bite the bullet and I buy this rug. And I had no idea that it was so soft. And now you talk about it all the time. It's a cloud pile. So it's like so soft and squishy, and it's like it's printed on there, but it looks like it's woven. And when I put this rug down, all my kids were like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. They were like laying down on the hardwood floor on this rug, and it just feels so good underneath your feet, and it's really pretty, and it looks so much better in the space, and the corners are not rolling up at all.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It's beautiful. So all
my kids did the same thing. Yes.
And it goes off and on sale like all the time.
Yeah.
And Stefana always posts when it's on sale. So you need to make sure that you follow her, but I'll link it down below so that you can save it and maybe get an announcement if it goes on sale or something. But I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been so good.
Well, it has been such a pleasure having you, Stefana. I feel like we were drinking from a fire hose.
That's how I feel right now. I'm like,
with all of this good information. And if you are still watching till the end, you are our true heroes here. I think I might have to rewatch this one again just to absorb all the great information that you shared with us. We so appreciate your time and coming on our podcast. And I will link below where you can find Stefana on Instagram. But we just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. As I said many times, I love nothing but to talk about the business. So I'll be back anytime you invite me. I'm the first one here. And I'm also in my DMs a lot. So if someone has questions, whether it's on the Influencer Confidential account or my main account, Stefana Silber, DM me and ask me, and I'll talk.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Stefana. We'll see you guys next time in the Cypress Room.